CC, if the Eagles are going to do this, if they're going to upset the Chicago Bears, how are they going to do it? What do they have to do?
Man, they have to try to somehow contain that front seven. And we always talk about Khalil Mack anytime you're talking about the Bears, but, man, he's just the beginning of their problems. The Eagles, we know as far as an offense, they like to do a lot of five-outs. What are five-outs? That means all their receivers, both their backs, if they have two backs in the game, or three receivers, they all get out in the pattern, so they're only going with five-man protection. Not hard math, Nick, okay? I know they teach us at Syracuse. 5 men out, you got 5 guys protecting, you got 1 quarterback.
That's all 11 people.
Now, Khalil Mack, they have double-teamed him all season. So how do you do that with Akeem Hicks and him destroying people, interior, Floyd on the outside, the speed that they have at linebacker? So for me, they're going to have the best offensive line play that's that they've had all season, because what the Bears do to you as far as their front seven, and immediately when you get on paper, when you're playing them, you know you have to double team Khalil Mack. So you know you have problems. So how does Zach Ertz have that type of game? Because he's going to be limited. Either him or the running backs will be limited because of their ability to be able to help in pass protection. Because I can guarantee you this. They are not going into the game saying, you know something, we're going to single block Khalil Mack. Because if he does, he'll take over like he did in September when he was traded.
And so you mentioned the Eagles' offensive line having to deal with the Bears' front. I'm going to flip the sides of the ball, because if the Eagles are going to win this game, and Nick Foles is a great story, and if they win this game, he will continue to be a huge part of the story. But if they win this game, it's going to be because they are able to channel what got them their Super Bowl last year, which was excellent offensive line play complemented by spectacular defensive line and pass rush play. And that's what I'm going to be looking for the Eagles in this game. Can they make Mitch Trubisky feel uncomfortable from the start of the game? Can they get after him? All of a sudden, the last few weeks, you are seeing the Eagles' defensive line play its best football of the year. Fletcher Cox coming off just his second career Defensive Player of the Week award. You're seeing Michael Bennett play better. Those guys are going to have to wreak havoc. I think they're going to have to steal at least one extra possession right out of the hands of Mitch Trubisky, either a strip sack, tipped ball that turns into an interception, because I think they are going to have incredible difficulty moving the ball on this Bears defense. This Bears defense is first in points, third in yards, first in yards per play, first in rush defense, first in turnovers. This is the best defense in football, so their defense is going to have to do their closest impersonation of that defense when they're on the field.
Eagles haven't faced a defense. They didn't face a defense like this on their run last year, did they, CC? Like
No,
this Bears
absolutely.
Defense?
No. If you look at what they did, they barely got through the Falcons game. And there's the people were under the myth because they didn't necessarily watch the details. They say, well, the Vikings defense, they were top ranked. Yeah, but the Vikings defense was coming off of 24 points and a miracle. But the Saints had scored 24 on them in the second half and 200 yards of offense. So it wasn't like the Vikings defense came into that game, NFC Championship, playing great football. They got exposed even more in that game. This is what I think is one of the deciding advantages for the Bears is I've played in Soldier Field, regular season, and I've been fortunate enough to play there in the postseason. All right, we had the Fog Bowl there, Philadelphia. Last time they were in the playoffs, I think, in Chicago, I was on that team. Man, that crowd, because it's already a hard place to play. So what they went through last year, getting the bye and being able to play the Falcons at home, and I was at the NFC Championship, that crowd and that decisive home field advantage that they had in that, I know Soldier Field will be rocking. They've had a sensational, maybe the surprise season of anyone in the NFL. And that defense, imagine a Bears defense, elite defense, playing in a playoff game in Soldier Field. I believe that's going to be special.
And when I reference Nick Foles, here's one thing he hasn't done in this stretch of he's won 6 consecutive elimination games for this team. He's yet to do it in even a semi-hostile environment. Last year, home playoff game, neutral site Super Bowl. This year, here's the stretch. At the Rams with a majority of Philly fans. Home for Houston, and then at Washington. And if you watch that game, that turned into the Link. They were chanting, "Fly, Eagles, fly," in the concourses after the game. None of these games have been a true road environment, much less what C's talking about at Soldier Field. That's going to be a challenge for the Eagles offense, not just Nick Foles. As far as, do you have to go to a silent count? Forget all the different things that the Bears can do to you, but if you go to a silent count and your offensive linemen don't have the added advantage of the get-off, right?
Well, there is no option but to run an offense with the silent count.
Right.
So let's not act like they have another option.
So
right?
I shouldn't say if. When you go to the silent count,
absolutely,
you are already at a disadvantage because you don't have the advantage of timing that offensive linemen typically do. That's something we've never seen the Nick Foles Eagles deal with. They didn't deal with it once in the postseason last year, haven't had to deal with it once in the run this year. That's something to watch as well.
Go ahead.
One thing, too, to watch is Matt Nagy. Watch how, because him and Doug Peterson are similar in a certain sense, but because they come from Andy Reid, but they utilize their personnel better. Chicago has so much more team speed on their offense. I want to watch how Nagy, in his first playoff experience, does he utilize that? Does he coach the same way against this Philadelphia defense? Is much improved, but I don't believe has the speed to build challenge what the Bears can do.
And that's what I was going to say, is that last year Doug Peterson spent a good portion of his time making this a very aggressive offense, taking chances with this offense, going forward on a lot of fourth downs in the red zone, and now you see a lot of what Matt
Yeah, it's easy to chance when you're playing at home.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.